to DAX Machina. Join us as we explore the mysteries of this world. Cryptids, monsters, macabre tales, and horror stories abound. Could they be true? Are monsters real?
Good evening, folks, and thank you for joining us for another edition of DAX Machina. Joining me tonight in the studio is Robbie Rip Rains and Anthony Pitbull Canatella, the two wild men from the East Coast, keeping us occupied and bringing us all the stuff that's good to know. Anthony's been really going deep on the dives on this stuff with the UFO, so he's got a lot of great information to share tonight. Robbie and I. We didn't dive as deep as Anthony did, but Anthony went way down the rabbit hole and has found some really good stuff. We were talking just before the show, and you've got to hear some of the stuff he's got going on.
Hey, somebody had to tie a rope around his ankle and pull him back out.
Yeah, that's right. That and the dog ate your homework, Robbie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I texted everybody. I said, everybody do their homework, and everybody's like, Robbie answered me back. He goes, dog ate it. I'm like, oh, okay. I knew Robbie was busy anyway. Robbie had the soccer practice, all that stuff going on. I know that. And you had Taylor moving out and everything, right? They were doing all that. Yep. So, yeah. So I had nothing but time on my hands because of, still healing up with my mouth surgery. So I did go deep. I went real deep. So
yeah, you did. Well, kind of a recap for the folks that may not know exactly what we're talking about. This last Sunday during the Super Bowl, the spokesmen from the Pentagon and the Secretary of Defense had a press conference very quietly. Didn't even supersede the Super Bowl. It didn't break into any channels. We just happened to be able to catch it live as it was put out on the internet. It wasn't put out on major news networks. It didn't even break the top 5 news stories. But it very quietly got released that the U.S. had engaged multiple, possibly alien vehicles and shot them down. One of them over Lake Huron, one of them off the coast of Alaska, one of them that they had engaged but lost over Montana. And where was the other one, Robbie?
The Lake Huron's one that got shot down, but we think that was the one from Montana that they lost.
Yeah,
and the other one lost. Made it into Canada, I believe.
Yeah, one shot down in Canada, in the Yukon territory, and of course, there was the balloon that shall not be named that was shot down off of North Carolina.
Well, it was actually South Carolina because it was Myrtle Beach that was shot down there. And I want to say there was something to do with Alaska in one of them, but I don't know if that was a pass through or.
No, the one that was shot down over Alaska was just off of Prudhoe. It was really northern Alaska.
I mean, so north, it was like Arctic north, like crazy. Nothing out there. But yeah. But the one that they shot down over Lake, what was it? Which one was
Lake
that?
Huron.
What did you find out? You were telling us about it. You said you heard something about it?
I found a couple of unconfirmed reports coming from people that were in the area. Like there was a news chopper that was trying to get into the area, and there were other people that were able to watch it from the shore. That there's an unconfirmed report that at least 3 F-16s were shot down trying to take it down. So there goes the weather balloon theory.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you guys listened to the tapes, but I listened to one of the tapes of the pilots in the Raptor that were communicating with the tower, or NORAD, excuse me. And he says it looks octagon in shape and metallic, but a black metallic. He's seen a shine to it, but it was a black octagon metallic object. The size. Now, this is what he said: the size of an ATV, not a car like they're saying on the news, a small truck. They kept saying, but it was the size of an ATV, he said, from what he can see. And it was moving away from him. That's exactly what he said. So, and he was flying what a Raptors fly at.
Mach 3, something like that.
Yeah.
the thing was moving away from him. So, you tell me. I mean, you know, and then when I started getting into it, because I know we were going to do the subject, I really went, like you said, deep. And if anybody, I mean, I watch his show, and I don't know if you guys do. I don't think you guys ever watched Sean Ryan, Sean Ryan podcast. This guy is a former Navy SEAL. Worked Central Intelligence Agency when he got out. And he has guests on his show, but all his guests are former Green Beret, former Special Operations guys, drug cartel guys that fought the drug cartel, DEA agents, you know, doctors, lawyers, economists that are going on in this country, the economy. So you had this doctor on, and what was the doctor's name? I got to look it up. He's well known in the UFO community.
Was it Bob Lazar? Did we lose Anthony?
He froze.
Anthony froze. I thought he was just thinking there for a second.
I thought he fell asleep.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, he talked about how long he'd been up watching videos. I thought he finally just ran out of gas.
And then there was the one time, and he's our narcoleptic ufologist.
So yeah, I was watching it, and then But anyway, I'll look up his name. Is Dr. Oh, he's well known in the community too. Hold on. I'll find it. Let me find it.
Okay, maybe Anthony wasn't as prepared as we thought he was.
I went in too deep.
Let me guess, the dog ate it.
No, I got it here on my phone. Hold on a minute. I'm not thinking straight because you're making me laugh now.
Sure. Blame it on me.
You're the one that made us laugh. We thought you fell asleep.
I know. And this thing is hardwired in. Again, and I even rebooted it before coming on, like you said to do. The box. Doctor.
Is it Greer?
Yes.
Stephen Greer?
Dr. Stephen Greer. And,
people in chat going, Stephen Greer, Stephen Greer.
I'm sorry, I didn't see everybody. Yeah. But anyway, he was on his show, and this guy was a emergency surgeon doctor, and he gave up his practice and everything because of the experience that he had. Like normally, like we dive deep into the Bigfoot thing when something happens to us. But he actually banged on doors and kicked them, and has documentation on paperwork, and he also has people on his team that are former generals, colonels, former CIA officers, head of the CIA back in the Bush days, is one of his good friends.
Well, Bush Sr. was the head of the CIA before he became the vice president.
Right. And this is before Bush was the head of the CIA. It was somebody else. I don't remember the guy's name. It's in the podcast. Former pilots on his team, but he actually blew the lid off of this when it has to do with these Tic Tacs and reverse engineering and all this. From what he stated, these things are gravity propulsion systems, and they're reverse engineered alien crafts. Now we have a couple alien crafts, but we also have our own that they built. And what they've been doing, all these Tic Tac things that you're seeing and all these saucers that we're seeing that the military's engaging are us. It's not aliens. It's not China. It's not Russia. It's us. And what they're doing is they're testing out the pilots and the military to see their reaction, and the American people. Because what's the first thing everybody thought of when it went on the news?
Here it goes.
Right. We shot down 3 UFOs.
Something's about to happen.
Right. So everybody's like, oh, shit.
Anthony William Colby was director before George Bush.
That's who it was, I think it was. They were talking about.
Yeah,
but
William E. Colby.
Yeah, he was friends with this guy. They have information. He has documents to prove all this. and it's crazy. You guys, if you guys really want to watch a good podcast, watch the Sean Ryan show with this doctor on it. It'll blow your mind.
I thought he was going to say watch DAX Machina if we want to watch a really good podcast.
Well, that too, but I'm giving the information.
Wink, 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 wink.
Okay, thanks a lot. Curse of the Wendigo. There you go, Renee. But anyway, and then, you know, we have, what's his name? The one that worked at Area 51, Bob Lazar. So, you know, I mean, all his stuff is coming true now that he actually came out and said, and everybody called him a liar and he was full of shit, you know, but now everything that he said is coming to light. He said, you know, they were gravity engineered crafts and they did this and did that, and they're like, oh no, they didn't, you know.
That's a very good point.
Yeah, and he said, I mean, we could do this podcast tonight. It'll be 4 to 5 hours. I mean, the stuff that I dove into that I could answer that question. That what they're doing is they're, like I said, they're testing our military. Our own military's testing our military to see the response.
Well, we know there are teams that did that even without quote unquote involving alien technology. Right. I mean, look what Dick Marchenko did with Red Cell.
Right.
Yeah, Operation Red Cell went around testing all our nuclear submarine bases and all that stuff. So I mean, that's not.
And they said that was full of shit. They said, "Oh, that never happened." Yeah, it did. That did happen.
Yeah. Many times.
Oh yeah, he did it. He did it so much that they knocked him down to what?
Well, that's
lieutenant commander, and then sent him in prison.
I'm about to say that whole thing right there is what got started and got him in Leavenworth, because he made so many of those top brass people look bad because they were like, "Oh no, you can't break into my facility." Oh yeah. But there was a lot more going on in Red Cell than just testing bases too. Yeah. That was a backdoor for a lot of black ops operations. He even says that in the book.
But yeah, what's his name that asked the question? What they were doing is that all this stuff that's going on is all black budget funded. Okay, there's a government inside of a government.
Yeah.
So the president doesn't know, generals, admirals don't know. And when they put the request in to find out about all this stuff, they got denied. The president of the United States got denied. And the top admirals and the top generals got denied.
So,
so
I hate to use this term, but is this like that New World Order crap that we've heard so much about? Is this who is
almost
bankrolling this stuff?
What they're doing is that if you listen to the podcast, basically what he's saying is that other countries are involved with this, and when it does come to pass and it does happen, which it will, he said eventually, it's going to be one order. We're all going to combine our forces and make it look like we're doing this and we're fighting this and we're taking care of this and everybody's going to be happy and we're all going to live but it's not going to be that way. They want to control everything that we're doing, and that's what he's saying. You know, I mean, the stuff that he was talking about and the paperwork he was talking about, and he had it to back it up, was crazy. It was nuts. And you know me, I got to see it to believe it. But for this gentleman to have him on his show, especially Sean Ryan, he did his homework on his guests before they come on. I mean, he's a reputable person in the community. He does this for a living. He was with the SEAL teams. He's not a liar. He's not a bullshitter. So he doesn't have a bunch of whack jobs and ponies on his show, basically.
Right.
So, I mean, it opened my eyes up when I watched it. It was crazy. Crazy. You know, and then Bob Lazar. And then this other one that I watched about the Air Force. This gentleman was an Air Force counter intelligence officer that worked.
Richard Doty?
Yes. That worked for Skunk Works, that worked for Area 51, worked for the government that would actually put out false information and make people look stupid. Okay? Basically, what he did. And they were doing it to actually, he had his hand in the Bob Lazar case. So when he interviewed him, when Stephen Greer, the doctor, interviewed him, they did bring it up briefly. But he even admitted to it, that they were reverse engineered. They're gravity crafts, propulsion systems, all by gravity. And basically, it's just a big black budget operation. It's behind the government's eyes. And that's all they're doing. We have to, like he said, we are 50 years advanced in our technology, but they won't release it. And he stated it, and so did Dr. Stephen Greer stated it. And Robbie made a good point last week, and he even said the same thing Robbie said. Have you noticed right after World War II the jump in technology that we had?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, he said the same thing on the show.
To go from what computers were then to this in that time frame, that's
big.
When I was a kid, a computer, when I was young, like the old ENIAC systems, would fill a room bigger than my living room.
Oh, yeah.
And now you've got more computing power right here than the entire ENIAC series ever even had. Yeah. And then as you got into the 80s, you had the Cray XMP supercomputers. Those were liquid cool computers that were larger than rooms. The CIA supposedly had banks of them linked together.
There's more computing power in this phone than the computers that they used to send
the guys to the moon.
The moon mission.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, a lot of the stuff that they did went to the moon was still done by hand.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of the math was done by hand. And that's, as Robert D. says, 100 years we went from horses to the moon.
Right. And even when they were even when these guys were giving their testimony and talking to, doing the interviews, he said if you went into one of these crafts that were reverse engineered by us, they still had the old panels from the 60s in them. So if you walked into one of these crafts, it looks like you were walking in when you sat down. The panels look like off the Apollo mission.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't upgrade them yet. So these things were reversed back in the 50s and 40s and 60s. And they were just testing them out and kept testing them and kept testing them. And they finally worked some of the bugs out. And he even said it. He goes, some of the bugs aren't worked out of them.
But, when you capture, let's just say, for example, we one of our airplanes from today, let's say the F-22 Raptor, if we dropped that off in, say, Russia in 1922, they didn't have the technology to understand it. Would they have tried to reverse engineer it? Hell yeah. Did they have the technology to do it? No.
It's the same thing Bob Lazar said when they interviewed him. He goes, if you dropped off a generator back in the 1800s, basically they would try to do it, but we didn't have electricity back then. So they wouldn't know, how much farther to go.
You have to have a basic knowledge of the rudimentary principle of whatever it is you're trying to reverse engineer. I mean, if somebody from the future came back to right now and dropped some kind of transportation or that would, like Star Trek transporter device, and we had zero knowledge of how that thing worked, even in the simplest form, you can't reverse engineer something like that if you don't have. So, you have to wait till you have at least some kind of base knowledge before you can start really understanding what you're. I mean, you can go ahead and reverse engineer it all you want, but it's not going to.
David Lester says people are not going to notice the advances. They're going to be too busy sitting on the couch, not wanting their simple life messed with. He's not wrong. And then Dr. 45-120 Sharp Rothstein says, Ben Rich, the second person in charge of Skunk Works, said, if you can think of it, we have it sitting on a shelf.
Well, it's the Matrix effect, really. I mean, I'm not saying that we're in the Matrix, but that line, ignorance is bliss. I know my brain is telling me this steak's not real, but
right.
I don't want to think about the fact that it's not. I just want to sit back and enjoy the line that I'm being fed. Is basically how that.
Richard Cox says former Israeli space security chief Haim Ashed openly said U.S. Israel has been working with aliens for 30 years. And then Big Vic 443 Big Vic says don't forget the computers that were used in the Minuteman silos. Yeah, those things were freaking massive, like massive consoles. James Belcher says, but if you had the entities to teach you the technology, I think in some cases we do, but I don't think it's in every case. It makes me wonder in some of the incidents where we possibly took the technology by force. There's been a number of places around the world where there have been UFO crashes. Some of them inside Russian territory. Some of them, some of them in remote places where people had to fight to get to. Then, of course, you've got the stories that were told by Admiral Richard Byrd about the possible Hollow Earth theory with the portal opening on Antarctica, not South America, where craft that looked like flying saucers came out and engaged his aircraft. Could any of that be true? Could that just be a government cover story? But I tend to lend some credence to it. What did they encounter down there? How long have we been reverse engineering this stuff?
Well, like we said, just to make the jump from then to where we are right now. I mean, take something as simple as video games. Think about the video games when you and I were kids. And Anthony, we went from Pong, the little square ball bouncing across the string, to things like we play on like Bigfoot and Call of Duty and things like that. Look at the jump just in our lifetime of how realistic and how, I mean, it is, and virtual reality games and things like that.
Look at the Atari Pac-Man versus Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the jump in that time span is just phenomenal. I mean, I don't think you can get without some type of push from behind. I don't think you get that much technology or that much of a technological jump in that shortest time span without some kind of help.
Oh, I agree.
I mean, the stuff that I was watching, it blew my mind because it made sense.
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
Made total sense, because then, why all of a sudden are they appearing now? And it's like he said, they're showing you what the right hand is doing, but they're not showing you what the left hand is really doing.
Right.
The whole thing.
Well, it's misdirection. Right. Our government does it all the time. Like, oh, look at this over here. Right. Look at this over here. Don't pay attention to what the other hand's doing. No. Look at this.
And he said it. He goes, because of all the stuff that's been going on with Taiwan, Ukraine, all this stuff that's happening. Basically, they just want to, they're taking our eyes off of what's happening right now. Stop. So it does make sense. I mean, there's so much. We're so close to World War III. It's not even funny. And I don't think people realize that.
That old song, "The Eve of Destruction."
Right. I don't think anybody realizes how close we are to having a conflict with China, and then having Russia involved on top of it.
We're standing on the edge of a knife right now.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
William Nighthawk says, if you have the knowledge of how an arrow achieves flight, it's not far-fetched to think you can reverse engineer a rocket. He's not wrong. I mean, we understood the basic physics concepts, but some of this alien technology is using physics in ways we never thought possible.
No. The stuff that they were talking about in the shows. I mean, gravity engines. I mean, it's like, basically that's why they said when you seen that thing tilt up like this, that saucer, and it was going like this, they all said it points to where it needs to go, the bottom. So it doesn't fly like a regular saucer like everybody thinks it does when you see it in the movies. It actually levels up and points to where it's going. So the capacitors and engines underneath it, it's in the bottom, in the center.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it flies. It doesn't fly like this straight. The bottom tilted, comes right up and points and goes. And if you watch the videos what the pilots took, that's what it did on all of them. And it's like, okay, bro, this guy went so in depth that the Aurora project that was supposed to be squashed, okay, we have because they retired the Blackbird. And then they said they were going to have the Blackbird 2, the son of the Blackbird, okay, and then they were going to design a Blackbird fighter, but they went beyond that. There's another advanced spy plane that they made was like the Dark Star, like on the movie Top Gun. Okay,
Yeah.
and it's supposed to be a drone, and also could be piloted by a pilot. But it breaks the G forces like crazy when it does that without the pilot.
There's 3 stages to a magic trick, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's the pledge, there's the turn, and there's the prestige.
Right.
Which the pledge being showing you something that's ordinary, the turn being, the sleight of hand, and then the prestige being the actual trick.
Yeah.
How many times have we been here at the turn? I think we're coming up to the prestige, is like what you just said, which is that's when the trick really happens.
Yeah, well, It's like the greatest trick the devil did was make everybody believe he didn't exist.
Amen.
Come on. I mean, think about that. I mean, your people have seen like those triangle UFOs everybody's seeing in the air. That is the new, that supposedly this is what their guys are stating. That's our new advanced long range spy plane and fighters.
Well, here's a question for you guys, and anybody that's listening in the audience. You guys are fully welcome to chime in on this question too. Do you think any of this anti-gravity technology, and I know at the end of World War II, we gobbled up Nazi scientists as fast as we could grab them. Russians did the same thing. Do you think any of this ties in to what they called the Die Glocke, or the bell, the supposedly wonder weapon that the Nazis were working on that ran on gravitics?
Yeah, but they said they had the diagrams, but they never found the craft.
Makes you wonder what happened to it.
Exactly.
Well, they said they never got a railgun working either, but we know that's a lie.
Oh yeah,
but now
railguns installed.
The thing that he was even talking about, they just designed the biggest laser to go on the Gerald Ford aircraft carrier to shoot down in a ballistic Chinese missiles. I guess China has one of the best missiles right now, and we don't have any way of shooting it down. And basically, if we were out in the China Sea, that this thing would destroy our carriers and destroyers. And they just retrofitted the Ford with it, and it's made to shoot down these ballistic hypersonic missiles that they have.
Yeah.
So, I mean, really, that's crazy. Come on, whoever thought they would have lasers shooting? I mean, it's nuts.
Well, the Star Wars program was back in the 1980s,
right?
And we just found out a couple weeks ago on the show that was probably actually true, that they've actually gotten, like you just said, Anthony.
Yeah,
they've got lasers affixed to some of those satellites up there now.
I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure it is.
So here's the big question for you guys. Now, having the revelation of what Anthony's been talking about, were the ones that were shot down over Alaska, Lake Huron, and the Yukon Territory, were those just exercises, or did we legitimately shoot down aliens?
Who knows?
Because the Pentagon had that briefing with the Secretary of Defense, and the video disappeared for a bit, and then we had people sending us links to it, like, okay, it's back, and it was longer. When you and I watched it, it was like 15 minutes long, and they signed off.
Right. Well, and that's the whole thing. We never heard another thing about it.
Right.
After that. I mean, after they said it's probably just balloons and a corporation that did it. And
well, then one of the generals came forward and said, we cannot rule out the possibility of an alien aircraft. But yet no wreckage has been recovered.
Right. Then they won't do it. Unless they did do it and they don't want us knowing about it, and they finally realized, that's our military and its skunk works that were screwing with us. It was the guys.
It does make you wonder why everything was shot down over water.
Right.
To give them plausible deniability about, the water's too deep, we can't recover it.
Right. I totally agree. Totally agree. If it wasn't they stated in the podcast, there is no way you have an advanced technology and people coming or aliens coming from a different universe. You really think that a missile's going to shoot down one of their crafts?
More than likely not.
No. So think about that. I mean, oh yeah, hey Frank, there's a missile. Oh, let him shoot it down. Don't worry about it. We'll talk to the Supreme Being later about it. I mean, really,
Yeah.
it's like, no, they're not going to let it happen. So it's, and that's the first thing. It's the first thing I thought of.
Mm-hmm.
Was aliens. When UFOs were shot down, I'm like, what, are they serious?
Yeah, I thought it was a precursor to something big, and it still might be. It just might not be what we thought it would be.
Right.
It might be something else entirely.
Exactly.
The fact that, well, also one was shot down over China, so
yeah,
would that have been one of ours?
Yeah, they're saying it was one of ours, and that's what I'm trying to explain. We're so close to World War III, it's not even funny. People think, oh, it's just politics. Yeah, it is politics, but it's we're very close. Very close. And that's the crazy part. Because now
we've been close for a while now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we're even
been on the
closer
edge
now,
of a knife
Bobby.
for a hot minute.
Yeah, we're closer now than any other time.
I agree. It's just, but we've been in that, 1 foot on a banana peel, the other in the hole for a while.
Oh yeah, it's just nuts what they're. It's hard to even explain. Really, it's just crazy. It's mind-boggling sometimes.
Well, we know that they can recover deep sea wreckages. We know they can do it.
Right.
Howard Hughes built a ship called the Glomar Explorer, which was built and designed solely for the purpose of recovering a sunken Soviet submarine. The Glomar Explorer still exists. It's a CIA-run ship. It was actually able to bring a portion of that Russian sub back to the surface for the CIA to study. So
right.
we know for a fact we can recover a lot of stuff off of very deep areas of the ocean. I don't know what the maximum depth the Glomar was able to recover from, but that is a legit thing. It was finally admitted.
Look what James Cameron did as a private citizen. So governments can do at least double what he was able to do as a private citizen. And I don't know the exact depth that the Titanic's at, but it's pretty deep, right?
Oh, it's real deep.
I want to say she's around 15,000 feet. I'll look it up. Give me a second.
That's not. 15,000 feet is not anything to. That's pretty dang deep.
12,600 feet.
Yeah,
that's over 2 miles of water.
Yeah. So if James Cameron, as a private citizen, can get a submarine that can go down and videotape the Titanic, what can governments that have endless supplies of money and resources do?
All right. I agree. Totally agree on that. Totally agree. I am looking up. I'm going to show you guys some of the stuff that they were talking about, these crafts that we reverse engineered that are out there supposedly. So give me a hot minute here. And the new spy plane they're talking about that doesn't exist. But they have people have caught it on film flying in the air. That's the crazy part.
DA, do you still have that video that I sent you a link to, that the dogfight, supposedly with F-16s in the...
No, I don't. I should have saved that, but I didn't. I was looking up the Glomar Explorer. It was actually as part of a CIA operation called Project Azorian. It was originally publicly built as the Hughes Glomar Explorer in 1971 and 72 by Sun Shipbuilding and Dry Dock Company at a cost of about $350 million. It was officially listed as a deep sea exploration vehicle, but it came to light like a couple of years later that the whole design of the ship was centered around bringing back that chunk of Soviet sub, and they did. They were able to recover a Soviet sub. I don't remember what the depth was. I don't know if it says. They recovered a portion of K-129, but as the section was being lifted to the surface, a mechanical failure in the grapple caused 2/3 of the recovered section to break off. So they were only able to recover a portion of it.
Now, I'm going to put a picture up. This is one of the pictures that he had on his podcast with Dr. Greer. Well,
Okay.
Sean Ryan. Okay. This was a picture taken by the Air Force, what they were disclosing. And actually, it leaked out. Somebody got this picture out. Look at that.
Looks like the freaking upper deck of the Enterprise.
Right. But this
From
is
Star
a
Trek
hangar.
Enterprise, not the.
Right. See the two sabers next to it?
Yep.
Yeah.
These are alien.
And those UFOs have U.S. Air Force markings.
Exactly. These are the ones we reversed engineered. Supposedly. Okay. Here's another one that everybody's seeing in the sky. That's a triangle, but this is an actual new technology spy plane and fighter that we're designing that's alien technology. Okay. That's one of them that he disclosed. It runs off of gravity.
Looks like a lot like the B-2, though, doesn't it?
Right. It's a gravity propulsion. That's why everybody says it's quiet. They don't hear it. Now, to get off that subject, here are the new spy planes that don't exist. Here's one of them. It's the SR-72, the son of the Blackbird. That's what it's going to look like.
That's the one that the Maverick was based off of, right?
Exactly.
Top Gun Maverick.
Right. Dark Star. This is it on a trailer. Somebody took a picture of it. So, I mean, yeah, they're lying their asses off one way or the other. I mean, are these pictures doctored? I don't know. I don't know people.
Yeah, it's hard to. Well, same thing with cryptid evidence. It's hard to take any photographic evidence at face value, but at the very least, these are very, very thought provoking.
You know, I don't know if they're doctored or not doctored. I mean, really.
Can you show the one with the two craft again? The first one you put up. Look how much bigger the second one and the one in the back is than the one in the foreground.
Right.
If they were still trying to perfect the technology, oh, okay, I get it. Look at the difference in the where the cockpits are.
Right.
The one in the front has like a single cockpit like a fighter.
Right.
The one in the back looks like it's designed for multiple pilots. That's probably a bomber.
Right. And this was taken supposedly. Oh God, where did he say this was? Somewhere in Florida.
That was in Florida?
Yeah, what they did was the whole story is that they moved most of the aircraft to one of the Air Force bases in Florida. Oh, MacDill in Tampa. That's where it was. Some of them are there, and the rest of them are in somewhere up north in another Air Force base. They split them up because Area 51 had so much publicity and people going and trying to look at it, and they said, we got to move these things because we can't test fly them like we normally do because there's people taking pictures and there's this and this and that. And
well, so I understand why they would have a test range out in Nevada or Utah, but Florida is so densely populated.
Well, I mean, think about it. Look at all the sightings in Florida over the ocean on the beach and everything. You got these things.
There are a lot of UFO sightings.
Right, at night. I mean, they won't do it during the day. I mean, really. So, yeah, I mean, that stuff was pretty crazy that I was listening to. Like I said, I couldn't stress it enough. If anybody wants to listen to a good story besides DA's podcast, this guy will blow your socks off, what he has to say. It's nuts. I mean, talk about going into the rabbit hole. He goes deep. Real deep. So. Really deep. Oh, not too bad. We got 127 people tonight. I know it's not.
Says the video is now unavailable.
Oh, imagine that.
Yeah. Oh, the dogfight one.
Yeah. But it's got a picture, but they're just specs. It says UFO seekers captured F-16s dogfighting against triangular-shaped aircraft over Area 51. The F-16s are seen zipping through the sky in an apparent routine training mission over the top secret military base Area 51 in the desert area near Lincoln County, Nevada. They even have like special markings for these F-16s. I'm going to see if I can share the screen.
Huh.
Give me a second.
Hey, Unc's on. Yeah, he watched it. I had Uncle John watch it, and he was blown away. He couldn't believe it.
This is the special squadron assigned to Area 51. Says the interesting video in this post was recently uploaded to YouTube channel Third Phase of the Moon and shows a video in which UFO seekers Tim Doyle and Tracy Sue captured photos of F-16s dogfighting a triangular aircraft over Area 51. As reported by Mirror, the fighter planes are seen zipping through the sky in apparent routine training mission over the top secret military base Area 51 in the desert in Lincoln County, Nevada.
I seen
Doyle and Sue camped out some 12 miles away to snap pictures and videos of activity over its skies and didn't see anything unusual when the military aircraft soared above.
Let me see if I can find it. Hold on.
Yeah, the video says, video unavailable.
Imagine that.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. It doesn't really shock me the video's suddenly gone.
No.
That seems to happen a lot.
Yeah, don't it, though?
Dr. 45-120 Rothstein says the photo on the trailer is real. It was taken where they test radar cross sections of scale aircraft.
Right. Okay, good. There you go. Let's see. All right. Let me see if I can find it. I think this is it. Video of dogfight over. Okay. That might be it. Let me see this first.
Northwood says, DA, those markings on that F-16 are for the aggressor squadrons. Oh, yeah, that would be, what do they call it when the military did that? When the Army and the Marines did that? Was it Red Force or something like that?
Yeah. Yeah, it was something like that. Okay. Area 51 dogfight. Ex-Navy pilot encounters with Sultan. No, that's not it. Oh, jeez. I think they took it down.
I think they did too. It's gone. Naoma says, I can name 2 incidents where our military engaged with UFOs and were shot down back in the 50s. One would be the Mantell incident with the P-51 Mustang that chased one and ended up getting splashed. Robert D says that Area 51 base is 4 times its size when it was made in the 1950s. It doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, they said they did get big.
Supposedly, most of that base is underground, though, right?
Yes.
Yeah. David Lester says the Trieste is a Swiss-designed, Italian-built, deep-diving research bathyscaphe, which reached a record depth of 10,911 meters. That's 35,797 feet in the Challenger Deep of the Marianas Trench near Guam. Jeez Louise, that's a lot of water. Yeah, 35,000 feet, almost 36,000 feet. What's that like? I don't know, 7 miles?
Yeah. That's like...
Jeez, that's a lot of water.
That's so much pressure. I don't even want to think about how much water pressure that is per square inch. I mean, that's like probably like 100,000 tons per square inch or more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm trying to find this video. I think this is it. Let's see. Yeah, okay. It says here, mystery triangle object spotted, dogfighting with 2 F-16s inside Area 51 had onlookers scratching their heads. And now it's stating, this is by what news station? This is a real good one. You guys will get a trip out of this. They're saying it's just a bird.
Hmm.
That doesn't look like a bird to me.
No.
But I'll see if I can put it up.
It's swamp gas refracted
Right.
off Mars.
Let me see if I can put it up and get it. I'll have to send it to DA. Yeah, they took it down.
The
February,
video got taken down. Oh, I think I'm going to have a heart
February
attack from that
28th. Yeah,
surprise.
man. That is crazy. But the pictures are still up there. But the video's down. They took the video down. That's ridiculous. So if it was fake, why did they take the video down? The pictures still exist. Let me see if I can get the pictures. At least they'll have something to look at.
Hammer's got a good question.
Do y'all think China is more advanced in technology than we are? I don't think so.
If they're not, they're close.
Yeah, they're the next closest.
Yeah. All right. Let's see if I can get one of these up. You tell me this looks like a UFO or a
Nope.
friggin' bird.
Northwood says, I've heard stories of places in Nevada testing and training range that are patrolled by dogs that have had their voice box surgically removed so they can't bark. Huh.
All right, I'm going to throw this picture up.
Okay.
I'll show you. Tell me what you think.
That looks like an aircraft.
Yeah, that doesn't look like a bird to me.
No.
And the one I seen the video Robbie's talking about. I don't know if anybody else has, but
In fact, it looks triangular.
yeah, they were doing dogfight maneuvers on it, testing it out, I guess. But yeah.
Richard Cox says, I once witnessed two F4s pursuing something with lights rotating around it. Wonder what it was. Whew. We are jumping down the rabbit hole tonight, boys.
Well, yeah. I mean, we knew it was going to happen. You said it last week. I mean, really.
There's really no other way to go on something like this.
You can't. I mean, how can you?
I mean, it's either an alien invasion or it's the government and a bigger power than our government pulling the wool over our eyes.
Yeah.
Either way, it's a deep rabbit hole.
I had John watching it, and I came out in the living room after John watched it, and I said, "What did you think?" He goes, "Pretty deep, pretty deep." He says, "That stuff was crazy." He goes.
Robert D says the Battle of LA has two spotlights that have a UFO in it. Robbie, can you look up the Battle of LA? I'm not 100% sure I know what that is.
That's a movie with about.
No, that's Battle of Los Angeles.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Battle of LA is something else.
I think it was. I'll look up though.
Richard Cox says when he saw that it was him in his right seat or in a chopper.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
It says the Battle of Los Angeles is also known as the Great Los Angeles Air Raid. Is a name given by contemporary sources to a rumored attack on the continental United States by the Imperial Japan, the subsequent anti-aircraft artillery barrage, which took place from late 24 February to early 25 February 1942 over Los Angeles, California.
Yep. Supposedly they came in. Yeah, they came in Japan.
But there are pictures of apparently UFOs captured in those inside the spotlights of the anti-aircraft batteries, which makes you wonder if it's the Japanese at all.
Yeah, that's what they said. I mean, I did see the pictures. It does look like alien craft, but who knows? Who knows anymore, man? Like I said, don't tell what your left hand, what your right hand's doing. I mean, it's like we're being lied to every which way, so it doesn't matter.
David Lester says, true with the dogs. They did that with the war dogs in Vietnam, so they would not give a position away. The enemy had a bounty on dogs and paid for each ear if they were able to get one. I didn't know that.
Yeah, John told me a story about that. It's true. Yeah, it is true.
Hang on, DA. I'm about to put a picture up here in just a second.
Yeah, we do. We do remember what happened. Everything went crazy that night.
Yeah.
Computers were shut down. Electricity was going off. It was nuts. He's right. William's right.
Yeah, he's not wrong.
I'm waiting for a blast to come from the roof. Like, where's Anthony?
He just went offline all of a sudden.
Gone. I will zap you with my ray gun. It'll be gone.
It's a G4 space modulator.
Where's the kaboom? There's supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom.
Marvin the Martian? Is that who it is?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, God. No, I can't.
All right. There you go.
They were lighting that up with multiple spotlights. That, I don't know. It's hard to say what
real?
that is. I mean, it's an old photo.
That's an old photo. That's so old.
Yeah, it's from the 1940s.
1942, dude. I mean,
yeah.
That
it's not in HD or 4K.
No.
But it doesn't look like an airplane in that they've lit up.
No, it doesn't.
They said in the center it looks like a saucer. I watched the.
It does. It does kind of look like a saucer.
That's the crazy part. It is. You know, I mean, the technology that we have, then you've got DARPA working on certain things, and it's just crazy. I mean, come on. I mean, before you know it, you know, we'll have ray guns. I mean,
I think they already do.
Yeah, I think we do already. You know, but I mean, why was the Space Force designed? Think about that.
Well, that came out just out of left field too.
Right. Why was that? I mean, why wasn't NASA taking over the program, but yet the president, you know, Donald Trump says, all right, we're going to design a military force that can fight in outer space, which makes sense.
I'm not trying to get political, and folks, let's try to keep the discussion not political.
I'm not
if that was just a political thing, that when Trump created the Space Force, why wasn't it immediately abolished when the next administration took over?
Exactly.
There was a need for it. They just don't want to admit why.
Aha!
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 That's a clue.
That's right. As Eddie Murphy would say, aha! But yeah, I mean, think about it. Why would you know, to fight out in outer space? And if you know what the funny thing is, I even made a comment to John about it. Look at their logo on their lapel. What does it look like? Star Trek.
Yeah, a little bit.
It looks like the Star Trek logo, the Federation logo. That's the crazy thing. Who came up with that? I mean,
maybe it's to make it more acceptable to people that watch a lot of television.
I mean, look at the Star Trek logo and look at our Space Force logo. You're like, wait a minute, they copied it. It's nuts. I mean, really.
Maybe they talked to William Shatner to get his input on what the logo should look like.
Yeah. They said their first ship is going to be called TJ Hooker. That's their first ship.
USS TJ Hooker.
Yeah, TJ Hooker. That's it. And the hits keep coming. Gotta liven it up. Sorry. Yeah, Cal.
Well, I wonder how this, you know, when Reagan introduced the SDI, the Star Wars Defense Initiative, I believe it was called.
Right.
When the Strategic Defense Initiative, when he talked about space weapons, I wonder if this was actually just the start of it. I wonder if there really hasn't been a space force for a long time.
I don't think it ever went away, whether the idea or an actual tangible thing. I don't think it ever went away.
Right.
Because we've said this before. There's always, in all these movies you see, there's always some element of truth. These movies get something. Look how many movies from that time frame to now have had something like that in it.
Right.
Men in Black, DEFCON 4, they 2001: A Space Odyssey. The list goes on about movies that have some kind of thing with a Star Wars defense type program in it.
Right.
Why? It's not just because Reagan made a a funny meme type thing, which memes didn't even exist back then. There's something to, you don't come up with these ideas just because.
No, Close Encounters. Close Encounters was supposedly based on something that actually happened.
Yep.
Exactly. Well, yeah, it happened when? It happened.
The 70s, I think. Wasn't it 70s?
No, the movie was made in the 70s. I think it's based on an event that happened in the 50s.
Yeah, it did. I seen the documentary on it.
I need to go back and watch that documentary again. It's been a long time since I watched it.
You know what the funny thing is? When I was watching the documentary, if you watch the movie, they actually point him out in the movie. The scientist that they took from Germany, the Nazi, he's in the movie. He comes out when the craft is coming down. He's one of the scientists that are there, and they show you who it is, and they put his name above his face. He's in the movie. That's the crazy part. That's the nutsy part.
Gary Lowe's got a great point. Best line in ID4. You don't really think they spent $400 on a hammer, do you?
Yeah, exactly.
The toilet seat, though, I think was the actual.
Yeah, whatever. The quote's still awesome.
Now, I mean, I just want to prove a point here because people are going to think I'm crazy, but watch. Is this it? Let me download this and get it on.
Fire in the Sky is based on the Travis Walton abduction.
Yes.
Don Combs. I actually met Travis about 10 years ago. We went to the Ozark Mountain UFO conference down in Eureka Springs, Arkansas, and actually met and talked with Travis. Really nice guy.
Now look at I'm going to put up the. I'm not trying to get off the subject, which it's not really. The Star Trek and Space Force logo together. Watch. How crazy is that?
Yeah, they have a lot of the same elements.
Exactly.
Just a few little things here and there different, but other than that,
Starfleet, and then it says United States Space Force. I mean, come on. William
Nighthawk says Close Encounters was based off Eisenhower meetings that were recorded.
Oh, okay. We should have had William come on with us. He has more. I mean, I did my deep dive into it, but I think he's got a good. He's really good on this stuff too. And I'm not into, I'm not into UFOs or anything like that. But when I watch those,
generally not my normal forte either.
Yeah, but it really
going back to the Star Trek, Gene Roddenberry, who wrote that, I don't think Starfleet Command is where it actually started out. I think in the TV shows, that's where it picked up, was when it Starfleet Command. But I think going to the books, I think it started out as something a little bit different that kind of morphed into. I mean, I'm more of a Star Wars fan than I am a Star Trek fan.
Me too. John's a Star Trek fan. I should ask him.
If I remember correctly, in the books, it didn't start out as what we knew as Starfleet Command when we picked it up in the TV shows. I think it started out something smaller, and it had, once it came to the One World Order, because that's pretty much what it was. The entire Earth was, governed by Starfleet Command at that point.
Right. Robert D. is right about this. He says the first crash did not happen right. He's right. The very first crash was in the 30s, and they couldn't get to the crash because of the remote area, they said. And they waited to get up there. And then the Roswell crash happened. They got to that one, and then they went back to the other crash. And by the time they got there, after however long it was, the bodies were so
Decomposed.
Yeah, it wasn't even. But they both the crafts. This is the story that they're talking about. The craft that was in Missouri and the craft that was at Roswell, supposedly collided together and hit because the damage was identical on both crafts. Okay, and it happened during a thunderstorm. Okay, so supposedly they couldn't. Maybe this is not the right aircraft, the right one I'm talking about, but there's two crafts that they did recover from the Roswell incident, and one wasn't even near Roswell. There was another one far away, but they collided, and that's what they were talking about on the show on that podcast. That's I mean, you talk about the rabbit hole, yeah, that's a big rabbit hole. I mean, the stuff gets pretty deep, man. It does.
There's not much on this topic, rabbit hole wise, that isn't as deep as that thing we just talked about a little bit goes.
AJ Congdon says, "How about Stargate SG-1?" Or the original movie Stargate.
Yeah.
There are people that have postulated that was based on real technology, that there is a network of Stargates. I don't know. It's one of those things that we may never know the truth on it, but it wouldn't shock me.
No, it doesn't anymore. You know what, though, man? We will probably never know the truth in our lifespan.
No. More likely.
No.
Our kids might, or our grandchildren might.
Well,
but
it's like that book that I told you about, DA, and I can't remember who, but you know the one I'm talking about, the primal, whatever it is, where it basically talks about the collider that opened up the portal and the dinosaurs came back. Also, supposedly during Vietnam. I mean, I'm not saying something like that has happened, but how much of this stuff, since all that happened, is caused by some of that meddling that they did over there?
Well, could be.
What has opened up that we have no clue? I mean, we know they opened a portal. We know that portals exist now, but where do those portals go? Where do they lead?
Could those portals simply be an extension of the Stargate network?
Yeah.
William Nyhawk says, "Hey, stay out of the rabbit holes and I won't be the ghost in the Ex Machina." That's funny.
Sorry, William.
Shane over at West Coast Dogman says, "What do y'all think of the Eisenhower meeting with the ET at Edwards Air Force Base in the 50s for technology in exchange for human abduction?" A lot of 411s right there. Very well could explain a lot of the 411s. I've always said that I don't think there's any one explanation to the missing 411 cases. I think some of them could be aliens. I think some of them very well could be cryptids, but I don't think there's any one explanation on the sheer number of the missing 411s.
I mean, it's like Anthony said. There's so many rabbit holes, and they're all miles and miles and miles deep because you just don't know which way. I mean, because if it's one thing, if it's the alien part, that itself is bad enough. But if it's our government, or if it's both, I mean, really, there's a third option,
Yeah. I didn't know about this one. Robert D says, "Keep in mind, this deep hole has been going for over 100 years. A judge had a crash on his farm in Texas in the late 1800s before the Wright brothers' flight." I didn't know about that. I'll have to track that one down.
I got my tinfoil hat on. I'm ready.
Well, we don't have to worry about. We don't have to worry about anything affecting your brain. You're a Marine.
You got tinfoil hat on right there.
Yeah. What are you trying to protect?
I don't know. It is hot. Damn, is that hot? Yeah, but that's crazy.
He's microwaving his brain.
Yeah, it's like, but it is nuts what they did. I mean, with some of the technology they're talking about. I mean, it was basically.
Griff's got a good point. Wait till we get the Space Marines. The universe isn't ready for that.
That was pretty good in Aliens. I like that. That was pretty cool. That was pretty neat.
But think about
those
that.
Those were
Think
real
about that
guns they were
concept,
using?
though. Think about that concept for a second. Space Marines is not just in Aliens.
No, it was in something else. What was it?
Oh, it's been in many
440K.
things. It's been in Avatar.
That's right, the Avatar. That's right.
It's
You're
been
right.
in the that video game series. What, Mass Effect? It's been in Dead Space. Basically, Halo were
yeah, those are Marines.
Those were Marines. The orbital drop shock troopers. Those
were engineered.
Yeah,
human
the
engineered.
The Spartans were basically Marines, but they were engineered. Space Marines is not an exclusive thing to Aliens, which
Doom.
is
true.
Doom also. Yeah, he's right. Doom,
Yeah,
the movie Doom with the Rock. Yeah.
Antilio Pannon says there was a crash in Texas in the 1800s. I mentioned that earlier, and buried the body in a local cemetery. Hit a windmill on the judge's property, and they dumped the parts in as well. William Nighthawk says he has to go. Have to go, guys. Been great, brothers. Anytime you need me, give me a shout out for a good night, guys. Well, good night, William. Hope you get feeling better, brother.
Naoma Starship Troopers, they were more akin to Army infantry.
Yeah, the mobile infantry.
Yeah, mobile infantry and fleet. So it was basically Army and Air Force is what those were based on.
I just asked John about that Star Trek, the thing that you're talking about, Robbie. He says that there was another name. He can't remember it when the book came out. But
like I said, I'm not big into Star Trek like I was at into Star Wars, but I do believe that it started off as something else other than Starfleet Command, and that's what it morphed into.
Back then, in the books, they weren't Starfleet. It wasn't a command or at all yet, or Federation. It was just the United States.
The Federation is what. Yeah, the Federation is what and the Federation was not just Earth. I mean, once it became the Starfleet Federation, it was all Klingons, Romulans were in it. All these other alien nations were allowed to come into that. So, but when it was still just Earthbound, I believe it was something else.
Huh? Really?
I'd like to look into that more.
Yeah, that's nuts. But they did even the rabbit hole even gets bigger. They said Eisenhower has a treaty with the aliens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard that story many times.
Yeah, we've actually talked about that a couple times here.
Mm-hmm.
So
we said that's where some of the technology came from, was in exchange for certain things.
Now, that could be part of why NAM US says over 600,000 people go missing every year.
Wait, now this is the nutsy thing. Now this even gets more deeper into the rabbit hole.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
I rope around him, DA, before he says anything.
No, I'm stating what was said in the podcast.
Grease him up so he doesn't get stuck.
What these guys were stating, the cattle mutilations and the people getting abducted. There's a special branch of the Air Force Command that were doing this, that are still doing this, supposedly, to throw everybody off. Okay, and to get everybody thinking and everybody's mind working. Oh, it's aliens, it's this, it's that. They're prepping us for their false flag stuff, what they're going to do. Basically. That's basically what he was saying. So, that's not me. It's what they stated. I'm just stating what they stated. That's it.
Yeah.
So that's even more crazier. Think about it. You got people that are getting abducted, and meanwhile we're doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah, John's right. He's right about that. And we put the comment up. He's absolutely right. With treaties, yeah, he's right. How many times have we broken treaties with countries?
We're batting 1,000.
Exactly.
I'm not really sure there's one we've kept.
He's absolutely
Probably
right.
not.
But yeah, think about it. If we do have a treaty with the aliens, what makes you say we didn't break it already?
Yeah.
Well, what the question that I got with that is, if we got a treaty, what if they're technologically advanced enough to make it here? What do we have that causes them to want to go into a treaty with us?
Okay, well, there you go. There's another one that they brought up in the podcast. They're not here for our resources. They're not here for us. They're actually here to help us not destroy this planet. That's what they said. They're here for us not to destroy this planet with everything that we've been doing. That's why he says, if you've noticed during all the nuclear tests and stuff like that, I mean, there's a video of a spacecraft shooting at a nuclear warhead and basically blowing it up in midair. That they contested to. Back in the, I think, the 60s it was. And also, they said that the way our planet's going and what we're doing to our planet with the resources that we have, and they gave us the technology to have clean resources, and we're not doing it. And he said, because basically of the big corporations are going to make their money with the oil and everything else. I mean, basically, come on. You got a battery this big that can run a city for years. Who's going to make money off of that? No one. It's self-sufficient.
No. Well, like they say with medical, the medical, right. Well, I'll call it the medical industry because it's kind of what it is in the United States. There's no money in a cure.
No. Of course not, because they're going to get you. And I watched it. I watched it with my dad. I watched it with my mom, with the cancer and the Alzheimer's. I watched it.
Big Pharma makes so much money.
Of course they do.
Off all the. I mean, look at the commercials in the United States versus commercials anywhere else in the world.
Mm-hmm.
What are probably 85% of our commercials about?
All right.
Pharmaceuticals of one form or another. Well, it's like the two guys that invented insulin. They gave the patent away so it would be affordable, and then these companies took it and started charging astronomical amounts until the government had to step in because people couldn't afford the insulin. But the original idea was to give it away so it would be affordable for everybody that needed it.
Look at the new drug in Europe. What was it? 10 years ago? What? 5 years, 7 years ago with the AIDS virus. You don't hear about that.
Not here, you won't.
Magic Johnson should be dead on his deathbed.
Yeah.
He's taking that miracle drug from Europe. And there's not a trace of it in his bloodstream.
If you've got the kind of money to go and do stuff like that, it's no problem.
Exactly.
But for those of us who don't have those means to do that,
yeah, the poor schlep, me, you, and DA,
they're going to bleed us dry.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about this earlier today with doctors. Someone wanting to pull people off ventilators. Oh well, they're better off if you just pull them off the ventilator. Just let them go. Oh, yeah. Okay, because they've already bled them dry from all the insurance money. Okay, mm-hmm. I need to upgrade my golf membership to the next. And I'm not saying all doctors are like that. I know.
Well, I'll give you a heads up on this one. My mom and dad, I'm going to make it real short. My mom and dad came into a lot of money, close to, if I'm not mistaken, $3 million when my grandmother passed. Okay, my mom and dad had insurance. My mom came down with cancer. Out of that $3 million, basically sucked away in everything after the insurance picked up that my dad had to pay for my mom. So, who's making money?
Big Pharma's making the money.
Exactly. So, don't get me wrong. He bought houses. He did this, my dad, for us and helped us out. But all that other money that was put away was basically sucked up for medical bills.
And the edge said there's no money in a cure. They don't want to find a cure for cancer.
Nope.
They don't want to find a cure for AIDS. They don't want to find a cure for COVID. They don't want to find these cures because they're not going to make the money off the cure. Because once it's cured, that's it. But if it's still a pandemic or if it's still bad, then they can still how many different medicines are out there for what's one of the most popular pharma commercials now for like
Oh, you mean for diabetes?
psoriasis? Yeah, diabetes, psoriasis.
Right.
I mean, you see like 25 different commercials
Right.
for each one of those every single day. I mean, if they're charging, $1 a pill, and you get a bottle of 50 pills, and they're making $50 off of you per bottle, and that bottle lasts you a month.
Right.
You're paying $50 every month, and there's 40,000 Americans are paying that. That's a lot of money that they're making.
It's that too, Robbie. But it was also, why do you think they fought with the medical marijuana? Why do you think that? Now, I don't smoke it. I don't need to. I don't. It does nothing. But I've seen it firsthand. It curing somebody that I know really close that had stage 4 cancer.
Oh, and that's exactly what I mean. Well, you hear the thing, they fight it because they don't know how to tax it, but that's not the whole reason.
No, because then they know that's a cure for cancer, certain cancers, and you can't repeat it, so they're going to lose money on it.
This is just like steroids, anabolic steroids. Right. Nobody has ever died in this country, and I know people are gonna fight me in the comments about this. Nobody has ever died by using steroids. Lyle Alzado did not die from using steroids. Lyle Alzado died because he was being a Dr. Frankenstein, mixing chemicals in his basement and mixing stuff up, and he died from whatever he mixed up. True anabolic steroid, nobody has ever died in this country that has ever been proven. But there are so many positives to anabolic steroids. That's why Big Pharma doesn't want that out. That's why did we spend billions and billions of dollars on the Senate hearings for what sports athletes are using as a performance? Why did we spend all that money? It's just like why we spend all the money on half the stuff that we spend money on is because it's if people were allowed to do what they needed to do and what they wanted to do,
right. Well, look at the organization.
We wouldn't need Big Pharma. We wouldn't need the government, and it's just we talked about all the stuff that the government gets their hands in and gets involved in that they don't have any right to get involved in. And I know we're not getting political, but the whole thing is it's a money making scheme, and that's what it comes down to is money.
Mm-hmm.
That is and in this rabbit hole we're diving down about this. If it's a government thing, that's what it's about. It's about money. And it's about power.
Well, it's the same thing they did after the UFO incidents 2 weeks ago. They organized. There's 2 organizations in the government. One we had in place right after Project Blue Book that the Air Force and who else was it? Oh, Air Force and CIA were lying to the president about. So the president got pissed, which Biden we're talking about. He tells his people, okay, well, now we're going to look into what they're lying to us about. We're going to organize our own organization to look into these aircraft, these UAVs and UFOs flying around, because we're not getting the truth being told to us. So now we have 2 of them, and all that money that we're spending on these projects, and what has been said about it? Really? Did he come out and say, excuse me, people of the United States, I can't get into it, but they're not a threat to the United States, and I'll leave it at that. They're actually ours. We mistaken our own aircraft that are special projects, and leave it at that. But no. Oh, it's a balloon, it's this, it's a toaster oven, it's a microwave. It's all this crazy stuff that they're, Then you got the general coming out and basically stating, well, I wouldn't count out aliens. Well, he put his foot in his mouth right there.
Yeah.
Because everybody jumped on that. And then you got Reimschrell, whatever, the other guy came out and says, they're just Chinese balloons. No, they're not.
But was he directed to say that, though, Anthony? I mean, think about what you were talking about earlier. And if that's what they wanted to do, and that was the false flag that they wanted to check, was he directed to say that?
Probably. But you're getting 15 different stories from all these politicians. They don't know what they're talking about.
But you get 15 different stories from politicians on every single thing that they talk about. You're going to get 15 different stories.
Well, it doesn't matter which party they're from.
Yeah, exactly. There's no party lines when it comes to them giving false information out to the public.
Bro, we look like morons. Morons in Iraq with the weapons of mass destruction. Morons we look like.
Look at how
he started a war for no apparent reason because he wanted a war. And they thought they were going to find something, and we didn't. Basically the same thing that we're doing now. He's going down a rabbit hole like we're doing, and he's going to get his hand slapped.
Well, look at how bad the entire world's laughing at us about the pullout from Afghanistan.
Of course.
Leaving all that stuff. You know, statistically in history, the United States has not been somebody that people have laughed at when it's come to military.
No.
But
we basically handed him a whole arsenal and
we gave them enough to where they could take over several third world countries if they wanted to.
Exactly.
Just the stuff that we left there.
Yeah.
They got choppers up and running. They got Humvees up and running. I mean, and they got ISIS. I mean,
they crashed a couple of them, but you know what's if there was 75 choppers left there and you crashed 3 of them learning how to fly them, you know that's
it's basically the same thing we're doing with these UFOs, Robbie. I mean, basically we're doing the same thing with all this technology. We have the technology to make this world a much better place for our children and our grandchildren, and not worry about world hunger, and not worry about people in Africa starving to death and dying from starvation and disease.
It's all about who's got this and who's got the power. That's all they care about.
And what they're doing is prepping us for a false flag. I mean, that's what everybody's saying. So,
whereas if anybody with any moral compass, like any one of the 3 of us, or most of the people in the chat, or most good people, if you had the means, genie in the bottle scenario, if you had the means, you Anthony, you DA, me, most of the people in the chat would use that for the greater good.
Right.
But most of these people who are already in power would not do that. And you don't get, and I'm not saying that everybody in power is this way, but the biggest part of them are. That's all they care about, because you're good. You don't get to the position that most of these people do because you care about other people. You step on fingers and toes on your way up the ladder. And they don't care whose fingers and toes they've stepped on.
Oh, yeah. It's the same thing in the military. How do you think generals become generals?
By climbing over the guys, climbing over the comrades.
So, they're not going to do what.
No.
And you just said it earlier. We have the technology. We have the know-how to probably eradicate, let's say 75%. I'm not, we'll be kind of in the 75% of
and it's
the diseases and the things that are, the sicknesses that are made. The cancer could be a thing of the past.
It disgusts me if you really think about it. All the people. It's not even here what people suffering here. I mean, there's innocent children suffering, and there's no need for that. There's no need for it.
Just take sharks, for example. Sharks cannot get cancer. If you just concentrated studies on sharks and just to find out why they couldn't get cancer, I guarantee you there's of
course
there's something there that could translate to us to get rid of cancer. But how much money do they make on chemotherapy?
Right.
Radiation treatment.
And they said that even in the documentary when they were talking about it, when the technology that these other beings brought with them, they were giving it to us and this is what I'm quoting what they're saying, to better our world with famine, disease. I mean, think about it. Why would they? What was the purpose of them coming here? They don't want our resources. Okay,
No.
our lakes are not getting dried up. Our gold and silver mines are not getting depleted or whatever they want, copper. Okay, so you know, it's if you are a higher being out there and you see a world destroying itself and you're like, hey, we can help these people out. Let's go there. They're going to probably be hostile, some of them, not all of them, but let's try to help these people out. Now, what they do with the technology is up to them. We can't force it down their throat. So they do that, let's say, but all our world leaders throw it in their back pocket and say, nah, we're not going to do this because, my son and my daughter and my grandchildren need Exxon Oil Corporation. That's part of their legacy. They need to still make money and be billionaires. Of course, they're not going to give it up. I mean, they were talking about the freakiest things, how we can have a Tesla. They were bringing up Tesla with the energy, free energy on cars, on houses. Think about it. Just think about the possibilities of that. How much money these corporations would lose about these, and these beings brought this technology with them, and we would never have to pay another electric bill, put another drop of gas in our vehicles, and everything be running on green. Everybody's all green this and green that, and electric cars and this and that, and
on a standard car, all of they use the battery to start the engine,
right.
And then the alternator kicks in, and it runs all the electrical systems for the vehicle.
Right.
Why couldn't they build an electrical car with an alternator attached to all of the drive wheels,
and they
just recharge the battery as you drove?
This is the best thing in this documentary. Well, in his podcast, he talks about that. There's people that have been killed that he talks about that he knew personally, that the CIA, I don't know if anybody knows the terminology. Well, you guys do, the wet works.
Wet works.
Right. That's a part of the CIA that do assassinations on American soil, supposedly, and overseas. And they basically took some of these people out because they had these patents, and the battery was the size of a cigarette pack that can, power 3 cities and never run out of power. And even with the hydrogen car, look at that guy that all of a sudden he disappeared. He got killed. He had a hydrogen car. It was in a Cadillac. He drove it from Florida to California, or New York to California, on water. Back in the 70s, a week later, the guy comes up missing. He can't find him. And the patents disappeared. So, they're not making money. So you have the technology. You have the technology that was brought here by these beings, and they're handing it to us, and we're not doing anything with it. But we're using it as weapons in craft. And that's what they're doing. I truly believe that. I mean, what else would be flying around out there and intercepting and playing with our F-16s and Raptors? They're not air balloons. So, really.
David Lester has comments. Says Ohio tragedy, avian bird flu. Over the last 2 years, many train derailments, food factories and manufacturing factories being destroyed. More going on than they realize. Funny you should mention that. In the last week and a half, we've had chemical spills in these locations. None of them made the news. And that's not counting the Ohio one.
I think I got that from William yesterday or today.
Yeah, and you want to hear something even weirder?
What?
There's an article I found that's linking the CDC to possibly have caused doing the Ohio thing as an inside job. The CDC changed the toxicity rating on vinyl chloride 2 days before the derailment.
Yeah,
They lowered the level so it didn't look as lethal.
yeah, and all those people are getting sick.
Mm-hmm.
Then there was on
I
the
was saying, no, it's not as toxic.
Right.
2 days before the train derailment, they lowered the toxicity level of what they claimed it was.
I know. It's just crazy what happens. I'm sorry. Listen, everybody in chat, I know this is not our normal norm, but DA did call it. He said, "Hey, we're gonna get real deep into it, and we don't want to be political, which we don't. And we probably lost a couple of people tonight. They didn't want to watch the show, but
Yeah,
sorry about
I just
that.
posted the link to that article about the CDC changing the toxicity levels just right before the crash.
But
Yeah.
it's good to change it up a little bit, DA. I think this was good because there's a
But
lot of
I
stuff.
agree.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, yeah, our numbers are a little bit lower tonight, but this is stuff that needs to be talked about.
Of course it
I
does.
totally agree.
We can't be we can't be like mushrooms and left in the dark and fed shit. It ain't gonna happen. Sorry, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm not. I know he's not. Robbie's not.
after the balloon that got shot down on Sunday night during the Super Bowl and the Pentagon press conference, we were one of the first ones to go live about that.
Yeah, because even Robbie texted me. He goes, "You ready?" Yeah. I got a bug out bag. I got 2 bug out bags. I got my vest. I got all my stuff. My stuff is ready to rock and roll right now, just in case something goes down. John too.
Yeah. I got everything on mine in easy grasp.
And people, you could call me crazy, paranoid. Believe me.
Well,
You'll be knocking on our door and Robbie's door and DA's door going, "Hey, you got a can of beans that you could spare?"
One of the first things I did, made sure the deep freeze was stocked and made sure the car was full of gas.
Because you never know what kind of shit will throw down in this country. You know.
The thing is, if you sit back and you just say, you know what, this is just talk, this is just that, and you don't take stock in what's going on and what signs are showing, then you got your head in the sand. Because regardless of whether it's an alien invasion, a government black bag thing, or false flag thing, a new world order, whatever it turns out to be, something is in the works.
Mm-hmm.
End of the world, revelations, whatever you want, you call it whatever you want to call it. Something is in the works.
Oh, I'm expecting a knock on the door any day now from ATF.
And if you don't,
I know that.
We talked about that the other day. We talked about that the other day at work. You know, DA, have you ever, as a police officer, just out of the blue, just said, "You know what? I'm gonna make a new law."
Right. No.
You know, in 26
get off subject, but yeah.
Well, no, this is on the subject, Anthony. In 26 years as a police officer,
going on in this country and
this world. 26 years as a police officer, I have never, ever wrote my own laws,
and they can't.
They are
federal police.
ATF rulings are not laws.
Right.
Exactly.
They're a federal police agency. That's all they are. They're not part of Congress or the Senate.
When has any other law enforcement agency ever tried that?
Never.
None.
Except ATF.
Exactly.
Not even the DEA. The DEA. I mean, come on. I mean,
so that's my point. If you don't look at the signs and look at what is going on and what is right here in front of your face, then you got your head buried in the sand.
And I think you know when it all started.
I'm sorry if that steps on toes, but it's the God's honest truth. People need to wake up and see what's going on and see that this government is not for the people like it was when our forefathers made the Constitution. And, you know, I, for one, am not going to sit by anymore and be the silent majority and say, "Oh, everything's okay." Everything is not okay. Period. Point blank. End of discussion.
I mean, look at all the YouTube channels. Number one, I mean, we watch them. Demolition Ranch, all these guys.
Mhm.
They never had a problem doing what they were doing with the firearms and stuff. And all their videos got flagged and brought down. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's their livelihood.
And it's over a lot of it's over a pistol brace on a freaking.
And that's where everybody went crazy.
What has that got to do with
It has
anything?
nothing to do with it. It's called it. What they're. This all started during 9/11 with the Patriot Act. When you give the government power to spy on its own people, okay, and listen in, right there is that's it. That's when everybody should have said, you know what? No, that's crazy.
Well, you know as well as I do, Anthony, and so do you, DA. When you give the government a certain power, they're never going to give it back.
Oh no.
Look at taxes.
We had roads and schools before taxes.
Mhm.
Taxes were put into place to pay for World War I. That was when the IRS was founded,
Right.
and it was only supposed to exist until the war debt was paid off.
Yep.
And I hate to say it, but 9/11, everybody in this country, no matter if you were Democrat, Republican, if you were bisexual, gay, straight, everybody was together. Everybody cared for each other. Everybody looked out for each other.
See that's the thing. There is not as much of a divide in this country, but amongst normal people as they want it to believe. If you want some good reading, go read the actual tax laws, and then say, "Holy shit!"
Right.
Because it clearly says in the tax law that you cannot tax another man's wages.
Right. Wait, perfect example. You just said you give somebody power, a government entity.
Yeah.
The IRS was only supposed to be in power for a couple of years and then demolished. That's it. Bye.
If DA Tech calls me and says, "Hey, I need my house wired up. Can you come wire my house up?" And I say, "Sure, I can do that." And I go wire his house up. That is between DA and me. That the government does not have the right to come in and say, "Well, you paid him this. Now give us our." Because here's the thing: you get taxed for what you make.
Mm-hmm.
Then you go buy something and you pay taxes on that.
Right.
Then you find a chunk of gold on your own property that you pay taxes on.
Yeah.
And then they take taxes off of that treasure that you find in the ground off the that you already paid taxes.
If you win the lottery, they tax it at like 42%.
Yeah.
You know what I paid in taxes on that new truck?
Probably a crap ton.
When I went to go get my tags, I almost choked when she said, "Whoa, you need." I'm like, "What?" I looked at her. Thank God I had the money, but I was like, "Are you serious?"
I remember you telling me that story.
We paid taxes on the Rogue. It was $1,600 or $1,700.
Oh no, I'm way over that, brother. Way over that.
Well, 16 or 17 was a bite. Believe me.
I was close to $3,000 for that truck. And that's
Robert D's right. You're paying taxes on literally everything you own. You don't own anything. You're renting it because the minute you stop paying taxes on it, they take it.
Exactly. I mean, look, you watch cable. How many times does cable and satellite work for you guys at the house? How many times? Yeah. Honestly.
But they're gonna still charge you.
They want their money though.
They could be off for a week.
Right.
And they're still gonna charge you.
Right. They want their money.
But by gosh, if you decide, hey, something's happened, I got to pay this bill, they're gonna cut your service off.
Oh yeah, and you go right to a tax collector. Boom. Now you owe us this, and you're like, wait a minute, it's only cable. What are you talking about? The stuff that I went, it's ridiculous. You're right, Robbie. It is because we can have such a simpler life if this stuff is really true.
If y'all couldn't tell, that's my pet peeve is
right. I agree.
Income and property tax.
I agree, man.
That drives me up the wall because that is the government's way to get their hand in our pocket legally, even though that should have been abolished.
Here's another good one, and I'm not trying to get off subject. How many look at all the people in the Senate and Congress that have free life insurance.
Yeah.
For life.
Medical.
Yeah.
Medical. How come we don't have it? We are the people. We're the ones that make the decisions in this country. We put them in power into that seat. Why
Yeah,
don't
because they forgot that they work for us. They think we work for them.
Exactly. But, you know, you got Nancy Drunk Pelosi over there, excuse me, that is getting free medical, and everybody else. And meanwhile, we all have to scratch and scrape for our kids and everything else and pay medical bills and do all. Canada has it free. How does Canada do it? How? Tell me.
Probably better than us. I don't know.
Exactly. But, you know, like I said, you have the technology that came here from what they're stating from these beings. And this world and everything would be such a better place and non-stressful. And just think of the technology and the advancements that we would have in everything. In travel, like I said, in travel, in disease, in poverty. And it's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. You know, so, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, you know, there's like these crafts flying around, like we were talking about with the, you know, well, let's go screw with our own pilots and see how they react to it. What?
Right.
It's like, why? Just tell them. Listen, guys, keep it under wraps. This is what's going on. We're going to do a test flight. We're going to be in the area. You know, if you guys say anything, that's it. You're going to be broken down. You're going to be thrown in the brig or whatever. But no, you hold information for somebody. Of course, they're going to dig. And of course, they're going to take pictures and they're going to leak it. And that's what they did. So, I mean, you have a vehicle that's flying around using gravity technology that's unheard of. That's defying G forces and maneuvering. And we're worried about, some people are worried about when's their next meal going to be for their children. Think about that. When everything should be, you know, taken care of. So, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you're right, Anthony. I mean, it's just, if you're going to do that kind of stuff, you know, if you want to see how your pilots are going to react,
that's
that's
what they
one
did.
thing.
Exactly what they did. And it's not just the pilots. Look what the captain was, probably the captain of the Nimitz. He was scratching his head. He's like, man, shit. What do I do?
I'm really surprised the phalanx systems couldn't catch it, because those
Exactly.
things are fast.
I mean, those things could lock on to an aircraft and missile and just take it right out.
Yeah. And they put so much lead in the air, it's hard to avoid
Yeah.
it.
I mean, like, why did they use a $300,000 missile to shoot down a balloon? Why? I mean, think about it. Why? I mean, even though the balloon on the bottom of the Chinese balloon, yeah, it had listening devices, it had all this, it had all that. Do you know it had an actual payload? They could carry bombs on it. Did you hear about that?
Do what?
It was a storage payload in that bottom piece on that balloon to carry bombs, missiles.
So that was a test run.
Exactly.
To see how we would react and how far
if
it
I'm
would
wrong,
get.
people, yeah, let me know in the comments. That's what I've seen. I think I seen it on the news or somebody said something about that. I might be wrong about it, but that's what they were stating. That's exactly what they were stating. That thing was actually rigged up that could drop missiles and bombs on our country if they wanted to. So, I mean, like,
So why did they wait so long to shoot it down?
Who knows, man? After 9/11, after 9/11, our skies were never safe again.
Well, I mean,
that's why I don't believe they didn't know where this thing was, which they said.
Okay, let's
launch out of China. Really? Okay.
Let's look at it from that standpoint then. If that was actually a Chinese balloon that was set up for that, would you want to show how fast you could react?
Exactly.
I mean, it's like
That's
poker.
not the first
Are you going to show your hand?
Right.
The first round.
You got to pay to see
Are
those
you?
cards.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
Look what I mean. You're poking the bear. Well, excuse me. You're poking the eagle. It's not just the first time this has happened. They said, okay. Then you have Pelosi go over to Taiwan, and those morons over there in China start launching missiles off.
Maybe
because
they'll
she's
keep over there.
You know, it's like, what is the issue? Because you want an island the size of Manhattan? Because you want that part of your country? I know why they want it. You know why they want it. Because of the technology and the chips. That's the whole thing. And there it goes back to money and power. And that's what it is. So, you know, I mean, you got aliens coming out of the sky, flying around in these UAVs and landing at Roswell, having luncheons with Eisenhower, and you got Russia over here doing this and China doing. It's like, come on, enough already.
Yeah,
really. So, it is what it is. It is what it is. But to get off the subject, I can't wait till we get back to Bigfoot and Dogman and stuff, because this hurts my head.
Yeah. Once you start thinking about it, it'll give you nightmares.
Yeah, it hurts my head. So,
And it's so hard to talk about this subject and keep it.
you have to. I know.
And
you're right.
Yeah.
We don't mean to get out of DA. I'm sorry if I got a little crazy too, man. I apologize.
Yeah.
You had the tinfoil hat for it, brother.
I know.
The one thing we always try to not do on the show is not go political. And I think we skated up to that edge pretty close, because we weren't naming names and pointing fingers at one political party or another. This is happening regardless who's in power.
Exactly. Yeah. It is.
But it is. It's hard to not turn it political, because just the sheer nature of what happens and what's going on, it's really hard to not get at least dip your toes in that political network.
Yeah.
Or that political. It's hard because
it's a game. It's a big game.
Because the government's involved, one way or the other. The government's involved, so it's hard to stay on that side and strictly talk about this from a, we apologize for getting up to that line, especially me, because I'm very, very passionate about this country.
Boys, I picked up a copy of this book.
The Lost
called
Waves.
The Lost Waves.
You mean this book?
That book right there.
That
I got a copy of this. And I'm telling you, there is a lot of information in here y'all might want to read.
What is it?
It's a book on basically how they did things in the 1800s.
Oh,
It tells you how to preserve food, how to plant your crops. The information in here is just astonishing. Recipes of stuff you can find that you wouldn't think were edible. How to make medicine from things you've got around you in nature. There's so much stuff in here.
And what is that one tree? That one tree that you can eat the bark. It has a painkiller in it.
White spruce.
That's it.
There's more than that though. There's
you can make a lot of recipes in here from the 1800s.
Pine needles. You can make tea out. Look at the pine nuts.
Pine nuts tells you how to make hardtack like they lived on in the Civil War.
Yeah.
If you make
a willow tree
tea out of pine needles, it will reduce fever.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of stuff that tea is good for.
There is so much information in this book.
Yeah,
I'm so glad I got a copy of this.
Yeah,
you're welcome, DA.
And it also came in handy for writing. I've been flipping through this a lot for that book I'm writing.
Yep.
I think you could probably pick out the spots where I've done it too.
Yeah, there's a few of them. You need to get you one, Anthony.
Tree. That's it. A white willow tree. Steve said it and Eric said it.
You need to get one, Anthony.
I will. I'll pick it up. I didn't know that was out.
Damn good book they have in your arsenal.
I've had that book for 6 years now.
Another damn good one. The SAS Survival Guide.
Yeah.
Yep.
I had that. I don't know what happened to it. Yeah.
I've got the pocket size and I've got the big one.
I had that somewhere. I don't know. Where the hell
This goes in my pack when I go in the field. Just like a little Bible.
This right here, though, Anthony, that right there you could, if something happened right now, the stuff in this book would save your life.
Well, it's even when I had the property out, and before I moved in here with John will tell you, I was going to go self-sufficient out there. I had everything almost ready to go. I was going to do, solar and windmill, and I was on 4 acres in the middle of nowhere, and I was going to plant a nice garden crop and have, a couple of pigs and chickens, but it never panned out. I mean, my mom got sick, my dad got sick, and then I took over, and that was it. But
I think Steve Payton's making fun of my my fanny pack. It's
What?
not a fanny pack. It's a crossbody pack.
I got one too. I have a crossbody pack. It's actually inside. I keep my stuff in it.
I'm going to get another one of those, only a little bit bigger than that one. That one's got like my basic camera gear in it when I go out.
Mine's about that. Mine's about the size of a backpack. But
yeah, I want to get one of those that's about backpack size.
Yeah, I usually carry my stuff like she likes going when you go to the Renaissance Fair or you go to a carnival, you don't always want to carry concealed. It's uncomfortable sometimes. So usually I was thinking, you put that in your crossbody pack, got a couple of, mags, you got your med kit on it, a couple of bottles of water or whatever, and you're walking around with it. Could help one day or save somebody one day. You never know.
Yeah.
So
I've got that first aid kit, that EDC kit from Carrie that I usually have attached to the side of that little crossbody pack.
You want to get the one that he has for the truck. That truck kit that he has.
Oh, I want one of those too.
Yeah, I want to get
the headliner.
Yeah. Well, doesn't the one that he has actually go behind the seat too?
Yep.
Yeah, he's got a couple of vehicle kits. He's got a couple of different vehicle kits, but that headrest kit is just right there where you can grab it.
That's the one I want. I want to put it in the truck and leave it there because the one I have and Robbie has, that goes on. That's already on my tack vest. So I mean, you just leave it there and that's it. But the other one, I got it, Anthony. Oh, Eric said he has one. Yeah, I'd like to get one for the truck. That's nice. I mean, it's.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk to. I've got a Dark Angel kit in the car, but it's not a vehicle kit.
No, me either. I got the one that he sent me to Robbie and you. Yep.
Over the last several years, I've acquired several Dark Angel kits. I had a black kit, the dark kit that I kept on my duty belt. I've got a dark kit in olive drab that was on my plate carrier. I've got the spear kit. I've got the EDC kit. I've got a couple others that I've bought over the years, but they're they're kind of spread out in different go bags, that kind of thing. One of them's in the car.
Oh, I guess what's her name, has a cold. All right. Good night. Feel better from Blonde and Booze. Thank you for jumping in.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
And supporting us and hitting everybody up for the lights and stuff.
Much appreciated.
But yeah, they I wanted to get that one for the truck at least to keep with me. I mean, at least I got something in there. So... But anyway, we're coming on to 2 hours. I don't think we could talk about this subject. I can't talk about this subject anymore, and I'm done with this. I'm just aggravated. Now I'm aggravated.
About my tongue.
Yeah. That's why I said I can't wait to get back to Bigfoot and Dogman and Gugway and all this shit because this is nuts.
Yeah, we are coming up on the 2 hour mark. Join us this Saturday. We are going to have a very special guest. His name is Michael. He's from the channel called Abnormal Encounters.
Right.
Let me pull up his channel so I can share it. No, Abnormal Investigations. I've had that wrong.
Okay.
Got a great channel. But he started investigating something that happened back in the 1970s. It happened in Oklahoma. There was a Girl Scout camp where a number of murders were committed, and from the amount of evidence and even from some of the investigators' perspective, there was more going on than was ever officially reported, and he has really broke that story really wide open. So we're gonna have Michael on the show on Saturday. I'll send you guys the link. Well, the link's right there. I'll put it over here in the private chat for you guys too. Check out his and subscribe to his channel and watch those videos he's got on the Girl Scout murders, because that's what we're going to be talking about, and it's going to be pretty intense.
Cool.
I mean,
I'll do
possible skinwalker.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, this
really terrifying stuff.
Right.
Right.
Thank you, B.
Yeah, B, thank you for that. She says, can you elaborate on the lowering of the pollution standards 2 days before the wreck again? Yeah, the CDC, just a couple of days before the wreck in Ohio, changed the toxicity standards that they released to the public on that vinyl chloride and lowered it so it looked like it was less lethal than it really is. Just a couple of days before there, it was rated as a far higher lethal chemical than before.
Of course.
I posted the link in there, and I think I already closed the. I already closed that window because I thought I was done talking about it. But just it is. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, I mean, of course they did that. Why wouldn't they? So
same reason videos go unavailable after.
Exactly.
Right.
But it's not true. It's a bird. Yeah, okay. That's what it is. That's why you took it down. Yeah, where's the video, the high definition video from these F-16 and Raptors when they intercepted these flying things?
Right, because they do have.
They were just balloons. Where's the video? Where are they? They're not going to show us. So they showed us the Chinese balloon. You know why? Because that one guy and everybody on the ground was filming it. So, yeah.
Well, now I can't find it.
Yeah. So, see?
Well, it's probably just me.
It's the CIA screwing with us. That's what it is.
Probably. But I posted the link. It's earlier in the chat. But, it actually wasn't very long ago.
She's 34 miles from it.
Basically, the extent of the article, what it said was that just a couple of days before the chemical spill, the CDC went in and took the guidelines that they publish on the toxicity of chemicals, and they lowered the toxicity levels of that particular chemical, that vinyl chloride that was leaked. The article basically says that it was an inside job because they didn't want people to realize just how deadly that stuff is. It was far more deadly than the CDC guidelines now publicly say.
Right. Of course. Their hand was in the cookie jar. They got caught. That's
right.
Exactly what it was.
But they did this before the spill.
And it so happened to be a Chinese balloon flew over us too.
Yeah. So a lot of weird things going on all at once. It really makes me wonder what's happening. Something big is happening, folks.
Of course.
Check on your neighbors. Be prepared. Have a couple of days of food on hand at the very least. Be careful. Be safe. Because, if you think the government's got your best interests at heart, you've got another thing coming.
Yeah.
So again, I can't recommend that book enough. It's called The Lost Ways, and the other one is called The SAS Survival Guide. Those two books alone should give you enough skills where you could, at least give you the information you need to start making your own way.
Right.
Even if you live in town, if you live in a town, you can survive without electricity. Our ancestors did it for hundreds of years, thousands of years. We can survive without electricity. But if you've got a decent sized yard, if you've got any yard at all, you can grow quite a bit of food.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's true.
There's something called a spiral garden. in this
Move
book.
to Florida and go through a hurricane and not have power for about a month. You'll learn how to live without electricity. Trust me. It gets normal real quick. You see how much you miss it.
Yeah.
Believe me, I've done it. We've been through it 3 times already.
Well, those of us in the military learned a long time that had been in the military learned a long time ago that it is possible to live without those basic comforts that we all enjoy. Now, don't get me wrong. In the summertime, I like to have the air conditioner cranked up, and in the wintertime, I enjoy the heat. But as a kid growing up on the farm, we didn't have central heat and air. We burnt wood. We burnt wood in the winter. In the summertime, we had a box fan in the window. And that was about it.
I didn't have. We didn't have central heat and air. We had heat with the radiators in New York, but we didn't have central air. We had window units. I mean,
we didn't even have that when I was a kid. You know, Missouri summers can get pretty muggy.
We had one. It was in my mom and dad's room, and everybody slept on the floor. My mom and dad were in the bed, and me and my sister slept on the floor on the cots in the summertime because it used to get so hot and muggy there. So, yeah, we never had that. You know, black and white TV for the longest time, and then we went to color.
I remember I think I was 3, and I fully remember us getting our first color TV because I could watch Underdog in color.
Yeah, and then we had 3 channels that were regular, and you had the $6 Million Man, Charlie's Angels, what else?
Bionic Man.
And then the cartoons. See, it's not the same anymore. Cartoons don't come on Saturday mornings anymore on regular TV.
I grew up with Saturday morning
cartoons. Yeah, me too.
Love those.
You know, Kung Fu Chewy, remember that? And Captain
Fu.
Yeah, Captain Caveman and whatever his name.
Submarine. What do you expect?
And then you had
Scooby Doo, Speed Buggy.
Speed Buggy.
I don't know. Zoom Zoom.
Yeah.
Jabberjaws.
Jabberjaw.
There's nothing like that anymore, man, for these kids. Everything's on cable. You got Nickelodeon, and they're throwing slime at people, and give me a break.
Or they're on their phones.
Heckle and Jekyll, like Eric said.
Yeah, my mom would kick us out of the house in the summertime. When I was a kid, Mom would kick us out the door after you ate breakfast and told you not to come back till sundown.
Right. I mean, we stayed outside, you know.
Yeah.
Even at night in the summertime, we'd still be outside, hanging out, sitting outside, doing something, you know.
Oh, many a night as a kid. I've slept in a hammock outside, or we'll pitch a little tent, sleep out in the backyard.
I mean,
we did that all the time.
Yeah. I mean, what, the Three Stooges, like he said, and then Abbott and Costello, and
Our Gang.
Yeah, I mean, all the I Dream of Jeannie, all that, the Brady Bunch. I mean,
those were the best.
It's
Bewitched
not anymore. Yeah, it's not the same anymore, man. It really isn't.
Yeah,
you know, it's like these kids.
Beverly Hillbillies. Andy Griffith.
They missed out on so much stuff. These kids nowadays, it's crazy. It really is. You know, having a bowl of cereal in the living room, watching your cartoons on a Saturday.
Yep.
Instead, they're getting up, jumping on a laptop, and doing what they're doing. Now, who knows? You know.
Yeah.
Yep. Johnny Quest, like Sal said.
No, I used to love Johnny Quest. Yeah.
Johnny Quest was the best.
Johnny Quest.
Before we sign off, let's have a couple quick words about our affiliate programs. The first one, I will just throw the video up and let Doc speak for himself. One of our affiliates is Dark Angel Medical,
Make
and
sure
I'm
you
going to
put the
throw
right one up, not the old one this time.
That's right.
Hey everybody, this is Kerry Pocket Dot Davis from Dark Angel Medical, and you are listening to DA Ex Machina with DA Roberts. You may recognize me or some of my products from Dark Angel Medical in some of the Apex Predator, Lakeview Man, and Wild Hunt books, and you can get those products at www.darkangelmedical.com, along with training classes on how to use those products and save a life. Shoot us an email at info@darkangelmedical.com and be the difference.
Absolutely. And if you use the discount code Cryptid25 on your order, you will get 25% off your entire order. And in the notes at the end of the order, if you put Wild Hunt or Team Odin, that will add the little Team Odin rocker to your kit, whichever you select. And there's kits for every occasion, folks. And the way the world is right now, I highly recommend having a good medical kit at hand. And our other sponsor, Robbie, you want to tell us about the other sponsor?
Sure. Another good veteran-owned company that we all sponsor or we all like is Scallywag Tactical. This is the Dewclaw. These are some of the best knives that you will ever pay money for and hold in your hand. We don't say this because we get any kickbacks off of it. We say it because these are really, really good knives. Veteran-owned company. Craig and his guys make some of the best knives that I've ever had. And I'm 48 years old, and I've been a knife freak my entire life. I probably had more knives confiscated by my stepdad than most people will have in their lives. So DA's got the gunner's mate there. I know knives. These are really good knives. Anthony makes knives. I make knives.
Yeah.
We will both tell you that these are very well crafted knives. You got a lot of full tang design on most all the knives. Really thick. Yep, really
Nice.
thick, heavy spine. These I have never owned a blade that has been this sharp out of the box. Most knives that you get will have a little bit of an edge on them, which you really have to kind of work on it. These knives are just like razor, and I know that term gets thrown around. These knives are razor sharp out of the box, and they will hold an edge. And I think a lot of that's due to there's probably a good mix of metals in here. We went through that. I believe
we don't know. We don't know what he's putting in them, but they do hold an edge.
Sal Basso's asked if they sharpen well. Sal, this is one of the pocket knives I carry.
I don't know.
I've never had to sharpen it.
Sal,
it came out of the box
That's what
practically
we're talking
shaving, and I use this every day.
Me too. I have the same one DA has. I haven't sharpened it since day one, and I've been using it like crazy.
Sal, like I said, out of the box, never put a stone on it.
Yeah. Let's put it like this. This knife here, this Browning Tactical, I gave this to John. I wanted to show you. I used it 3 times, and it's dull as a butter knife. Look at this. Dull. Right there. Browning Tactical. It cost me, I think, $38 for this. And the one that DA just showed you, I think they were on sale for what, Robbie? $12 at one time?
At one point. I think they're like 24 now. But.
Yeah.
But in that thing, I use it on cardboard, dog food bags, cutting 550 cord, plastic, everything. And I still haven't sharpened it. And I cut myself last week. I was telling them. I mean, I just nicked myself with it, and it was like, went right down to the bone almost. So, no, I don't, Sal, I couldn't even tell you if it does. I mean, I haven't used the stone on it yet.
It holds an edge incredibly well.
Yeah, it does. Like crazy.
I got this one when Christmas.
Yeah, we don't get discounts.
No,
we get the same discount they do. The DA Roberts 10 discount.
I've used this thing since December. Every single day since I've had it, and it still did what you just. I mean, you see what I hadn't put a stone on it, and you saw what it just did.
Yeah, John.
We're almost in March.
Same as Christmas. John uses his and hasn't even put it. I don't need to sharpen it. It's crazy.
Y'all get on their website. It's up right now. Use code DA Roberts 10, and you're going to get 10% off of your order. And they've got a thing called blemish blades or blem blades, however you want to look at it. 9 times out of 10, the blemish is the box, not the blade itself. This right here.
I bought several of the blemish blades, and
this was
one thing wrong is the box might have been crushed a little.
You can see there is no blemishes on the blade itself.
Yeah, that was a blemish.
Yeah.
And if you want that particular knife that Robbie has got, it's called the Dewclaw. They are discontinuing that knife.
Yeah, that's why.
It's not going to be around much longer. It's also on sale.
This is if you want a good all-purpose everyday carry knife, or put in your toolbox knife, wear on your belt
tack
knife,
vest.
that you on your tack vest, something that will, that you can use just to cut just about anything. I use this thing, the banner behind me. This thing is heavy enough. I use this to nail the nails in the wall.
Oh yeah. I got one in my truck, one on my vest, 2 over here, one for around your neck.
With a
This
kydex
little-
sheath, you can, and it's movable. You can move it around to different spots. I've got this set up for a scout carry.
That little
Open that.
bastard is sharp too.
Yep. Open this up, put it on the back, put it on my
Mhm.
belt. It's set up in a scout carry where I can reach back behind my back,
Right.
pull it out. It's ready to go.
This
But
goes
you can
around your
configure
neck.
this in different locations, different positions.
and
They
forward.
they make, and most every knife comes with a kydex sheath that does that. It's a great company, great knives.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. I'm the
Greg's a
same
great
thing.
guy.
I mean, I've had a lot of knives in my time, and these things, I couldn't believe it how sharp this thing was.
Yeah.
Out of
And
the
before I
box.
got my Orca and before I got my Dew Claw, I heard DA say that, and I was like,
Yeah, me too.
but until you actually get one of these knives in your hands and you really see that they, I mean,
Oh,
I-
I've had
you know, I've
Benchmade
been
knives.
I've been the one that always gets a knife and Ray pulls it across my arm to see how sharp. I'm scared to do that with these knives because I know what what happened to him when he did it. I'm scared to do that.
Yeah, I inadvertently shaved off several layers of skin, and it didn't bleed immediately. I was like, "Oh, that's gonna be bad."
But yeah, even the Benchmade knives, Robbie. I mean, I've had Benchmade knives. I've had.
I like these better than the Gerbers I've owned,
Yeah.
and Gerbers
Oh, yeah.
are good
the
knives.
Gerber
I
one.
was a Kershaw guy. I carried a Kershaw with me every day at work, but
Yep.
my Orca has replaced my Kershaw as
think
my
that's
everyday carry on my uniform.
Yeah, the one I just showed you is made by Kershaw for Browning. This one.
Yeah.
It's a Browning label on it, but it's made by Kershaw, and it's dull as a butter knife. Seriously, look, it's dull. I mean, dull. I did that. If I did that with the Orca, I'd be like blood would be spurting out everywhere right now.
Fillet your own arm.
We don't say this because we get a big kickback or anything
We're
like
not.
that. We
We're not
say it
getting
because if you want to spend money on a good knife,
Mm-hmm.
this this company is top notch, and that's coming from two guys that make their own knives. I've made,
And some of them aren't expensive to either. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah, you can get some of the folding pocket knives for
Yeah.
$20 or less.
I mean,
my Orca
compared
was
to
I
what you're gonna pay
paid
for a
more for the
Benchmade-
shipping on my Orca than I did for the actual knife,
Mhm.
and
Well, what
it's
you're
probably
gonna
one of
pay-
the best. Huh?
But what you're going to pay for a Benchmade or a Crenshaw and these things blow it out of the water with sharpness. It's
Yep.
ridiculous.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean, really.
But I literally paid more in shipping for my Orca than I did for the actual knife. Because
Yeah.
I was telling DA about that. He's like, "You paid more for shipping than
Yeah.
you did?" I'm like,
It's
"Yeah."
the truth.
My shipping was like $16, and the knife
Yeah.
was like 10.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why when Christmas I just bought everything in bulk. And I guess everything was lined up to here, and I had the 2 knives go to Robbie, and I was like, all right, let me just send them. I had one for him, one for his daughter, and I was like, Jesus! I said that the shipping was more than the knives cost me, but it's the truth. And the way they're made, I mean, they're not. It's. I mean, the metal goes all the way through the handle, the whole thing. So they're pinned and everything, but it's a solid handle all the way through. On all his non-folders.
Growing Old with Purpose says, by the way, I was just made a great grandma this morning. Well, congratulations.
Congratulations.
That is awesome.
Congrats.
Well, folks, we're proud to support both Scallywag Tactical and Dark Angel Medical. They're veteran-owned companies, and we're all very, very adamant about supporting our veterans and our law enforcement and first responders. So definitely check them out. There's a reason I included Scallywag Tactical and Dark Angel Medical in my books, because I try to make as much realism in my books as I possibly can, and these are products that I would use in the field, and I do use in the field. I carried a Dark Angel Medical kit as an active duty cop for a long time. Just absolutely fantastic kits. I wouldn't bet my life on any other.
The only thing that we don't carry in the field is that 50 GI, because I don't think any of us can afford that right now.
Sentinel's got one.
What?
Sentinel has one.
Really?
Yeah.
He's Sentinel.
Huh.
Yeah. So I want one.
Really?
I really want one.
I gotta
I'd
look
settle
at
for my dagger.
Dagger's nice. That 50 GI would be an expensive shooter, but it'd be a nice one to have.
Yeah, but that's expensive. We looked up the prices that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, that'd be one you don't plink with.
No.
You practice with another gun and keep that one on your nightstand or on your duty belt.
Yeah.
But yeah, folks, we're a big supporter of first responders and law enforcement. If you know anybody that is in first responders or in law enforcement or military, check on them, reach out to them, let them know you're thinking about it, because 22 a day foundation is a very real thing. We lose 22 veterans a day to suicide, and I don't even know what the statistics are among law enforcement and first responders, but it does happen. So they see horrific crap. Robbie can tell you, Anthony can tell you, we've seen some pretty horrific crap in our careers, and that kind of stuff sticks with you for the rest of your life. So check on your friends and family and loved ones that are first responders, law enforcement, military. Let them know you're thinking about it, because your voice might be the thing that kept them going that day. Let's see the 22 a day get down to the 0 a day program. And also, considering the way the world is, reach out to each other. Check on your neighbors. Right now, we need each other more than we ever have before, because of this crazy world is getting crazier by the day, and we just scratched the surface. This is, we could continue going down this rabbit hole for hours.
But like I said, that could be a 4 or 5 hour show, and that'd be it.
Right, and much like Anthony, after a while, it starts making my head hurt.
Yeah.
It just keeps, every time you think you've hit another, hit the bottom, it's just another rock layer, and you keep going. It's this kind of craziness is out there in the world, and the better we are prepared to take care of ourselves, the better off you'll be, because the government is not going to do it for you. So what were you going to say, Anthony? Sorry.
I said, nope, you're right. You're absolutely right. Look what happened to John, not to get on the subject, when he took the shot for the COVID.
Yeah.
He's sick. Knock on wood, he's getting back to normal. He doesn't need the oxygen anymore. So that's great.
Good. Well, folks, we appreciate you guys joining us. I hope you guys will be with us when the folks from Abnormal Investigations will be joining us, and we'll be discussing the Girl Scout murders from the 1970s and the very, very bizarre circumstances that surround them. So I think it's going to be an awesome show. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. We will be back with you guys on Saturday night, and we appreciate you guys spending your evening with us, going down the rabbit hole. So from all of us here at DAX Machina, I wish you guys a great night. Thank you guys for spending time with us, and again, check on each other, because times they are changing. Good night, everybody.
Night.
Thank you for joining us. Catch us again Wednesdays and Saturdays on DAX Machina. A special thanks to all our channel members and Patreon supporters. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe.